The theme of your conference today is how we're going to empower the future. And I congratulate Forbes Portugal on convening you and on its 8th anniversary. Tini, Nilse, you're doing a great job, and I'm glad to be with you today to share some of the things that I'm thinking about that concern me. Empowerment goes to the heart of the agenda for business. It's not good enough just to do better compared to our past. We need to do better compared to our international rivals. We are competing with their innovative capabilities, their levels of investment, and their productivity and economic growth. Let's start with the big picture. Why is this growth so important? Well, I'll tell you, it's very simple. Wherever you look, there are huge pressures for more spending on defense in view of the fraught geopolitical situation. Our population's getting older, so needing more money for healthcare and pensions. Paying for the green transition. In Europe, paying for enlargement to the east and dealing with migration issues from the south. But everywhere governments are borrowed up to the hilt and citizens are not prepared to pay higher taxes. So there's no money. What does that leave? It just leaves growth. If we fail on growth, we will fail on everything. There's no choice between stability and growth. Rather, without growth, we are going to have instability, financial, social, and political instability if there's no growth. This in turn would be a further inhibitor of investment and therefore of growth in the future. Now, we need to have a fundamental reset on growth in Europe, and business needs to speak loudly, in my view, to promote this. We need to ensure the next European Commission, starting next year, really does put growth and competitiveness right at the heart of everything it does. Next year, we'll see the publication of the report commissioned into Europe's competitiveness from Mario Draghi. I hope this enables us to kickstart the debate and the reforms that we need to have. The truth is that 15 years since the banking crisis, we've become risk averse in some very important ways, and too often regulators reflect the risk aversion that they think is now expected of them. It's in this very uncertain world. I know it's an understandable instinct to protect people from harm, and I share that. But this instinct can also produce rigidity in societies and markets, excessive levels of anxiety about technology produces banks that can't support well-managed risks, consumers and citizens who are constantly told that risk and disruption are bad rather than what they are, which is the basis of all economic progress. We will not succeed by building a society and an economy, in my view, that never wants to take risks. This doesn't work. I know there's obviously a lot to worry about in the world today, and depending on the outcome of the US presidential election, we could have even more to concern ourselves in the future. I know who the non-liberal authoritarian regimes, by the way, around the world will be cheering if Mr. Trump wins, and that worries me. Next year is going to be a year of elections, not just in the United States, but in Europe and indeed in my own country. People are worried. There's a lot of anxiety about. But you know, I'm still an optimist. When I look at advances in medicine and life sciences, I feel optimistic. When I think about the way that global trade has lifted hundreds of millions of people around the world out of poverty, I am optimistic. And I believe that the job of business should be to stand up more vocally for the globalized trading system that has brought us this prosperity. When I think about the way that technology and artificial intelligence will change every industry, and enable us to help more businesses and people in developing economies to prosper, I am optimistic. When I think about the way that Europe came together to respond to the invasion of Ukraine, I am optimistic. But my biggest worry is growth, or rather the lack of it. With growth, everything becomes possible and managing change becomes easier. To get growth, we need to have an honest discussion about our risk appetite and the trade-offs involved. So let me wish you a very successful conference that reflects on these and other issues, the energy and digital transitions and the opportunities that exist, for example, in the blue economy. Our future growth and how we empower the future lie in the success of business, your businesses. So it's in your hands. And I commend Forbes for bringing you together today to reflect on how you can expand your impact and in turn increase the growth on which everyone's living standards depend. Thank you very much.